I'm Katie Crane from the Pilates Professional. Thanks for joining me today. I would like to give you a couple of ideas of things that you can do immediately post knee surgery. So whether somebody has had a complete knee replacement or a knee reconstruction or any type of surgery. So immediately when they come back, and I take my people back, if you are walking, you can come to Pilates. You know, I know that a lot of my clients will get told by their physical therapist or by their surgeon post-surgery, you must not go back to Pilates for 8 to 12 weeks. Personally, I take people back, if you're walking, you come to Pilates because I don't have to load you up. And things that I want to teach you immediately post-surgery is good alignment and making sure that you are walking well, including good articulation through the ankle, so good ankle movement, good foot placement, good knee alignment, and good hip placement as well. I can do that without loading them up at all, okay? So it's very, very important. I'm not loading them up immediately, but you can come back and I can start to talk to you about that. So this is one particular exercise that I use when they come back. Now, I don't have any springs at all on my reformer, very important. And then you can sit in the reformer. Now, my reformer is off the ground, you know, like it's got legs on it. So I can comfortably sit here and my knees are a little bit lower than my hips. If you have a reformer that's very low to the ground, you may need to put a box on it so that when your client is sitting, that is so, knees below the hips. Now I'm sitting right at the very end of the machine and I want my sits bones a little bit wide. So open up those sits bones. You can see my feet are a little bit forward of my knees. So when I look down to my knees, I can just see that my toes are further forwards than them. The idea is none of that moves. Now what I'm trying to get is a little bit of hamstring connection in this particular movement. So I'm sitting up nice and tall. From my pubic bone to my sternum or my xiphoid process is a nice straight line. So it almost looks like I'm sitting up against a brick wall. Without moving anywhere to start with, I want to press my feet down into the floor. The bed stays still. Once I've pushed my feet down into the floor, without moving at all, I want to get a sense that I'm dragging my heels back towards the sits bones. And can you feel when you do that, your hamstrings engage? Now, super important here, I did not tell you to engage your hamstrings. I told you what you need to be doing through the bones of your body. So your feet, the bones of your feet are pushing down into the floor, your heels are dragging back towards your sits bones without going anywhere. And when you do that, your hamstrings engage. That's very, very important. Now I want you to hold it there, pushing your feet down, pulling your heels back. Hold it there for 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. You're going to do that 4 times. Push the feet down into the floor. Feel like you're about to pull the heels towards the sits bones. The bed stays completely steady and hold that connection for 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Let's do 2 more. Pressing down, pulling back. It's a great way just to get that isometric control of the hamstring. So you'll probably find, or your client will find, that the side that they've had the operation on, that side really struggles to connect. So you may need to cue them to almost lead with that side just by a millimeter, just by a millisecond, so that both sides are activating the same, that you're getting both feet pushing down into the floor equally, both heels pulling back equally, and able to hold that. So for the first time round, I just want to do maybe 6 rounds of 4 seconds. But I want my client to get to the point where they can hold that connection for 10 seconds, really nice and strong, really nice and deep, and release. right? Your next thing that you want to do, my feet and knees stay exactly where they are, but I roll my pelvis to push the bed back, and I roll my pelvis to pull the bed back in. I've got my fingertips on the front of my knees so that you can see that they do not move at all, because what you'll see happen is this. I don't want that to happen. My feet and knees stay where they are. I'm going into a posterior tilt and going into an anterior tilt. The movement is very small. I still have that same connection of my heels pulling back towards my sits bones, especially as I go into my posterior. This is my posterior tilt, heels pulling towards sits bones. Anterior tilt, my feet are pressing down into the floor. Posterior tilt, pulling the heels towards the sits bones. Anterior tilt, feet into the floor. What happens when I go into this posterior tilt is I feel my tummy tone back into my body. As I go back into sitting up, my sits bones open really wide. Exhale to pull in. Inhale as you push away. Now the secret sauce here is that I'm getting isometric contraction of the hamstrings the whole time while I'm moving my pelvis. So really for my client, I've taken the focus away from just having to sit still and find your hamstrings, which was the first one. For my brain, that gets a little bit boring after a while and I tend to switch off. Add some movement into it. I bring joy into the movement or joy into the experience, and a little bit more complicated. So my brain has to switch on again, right? I can't just do nothing. My last one, I'm going to give you one more. Now you are going to pull the bed in, take the bed away. Now I only want you coming in to that your knees are still behind the toes. And then I only want you to push away to the point where you don't lose the connection through the feet. With this one, I still have no springs on. I still have that tone through my hamstrings because I'm pulling the heels towards the sits bones to bring the bed in, keeping the feet heavy in the ground to push the bed away, pulling through the heels to the sits bones, pushing down into the ground. But my hamstrings are now working concentrically and eccentrically. Very, very important. Now, when I'm working with knee people in particular, I probably want to do some single legs. So let's lift the good knee, the foot is off the floor. I'm working the knee that's just had surgery on it. I'm going to do that round, 6 to 10 maybe, or however many you can do, that it doesn't hurt the knee. You can definitely still feel the hamstring because of your good placement. Do the other side, and then go back and do the first side. So these are 3 great exercises that I can do without even loading my client up. So this is something that they're safe doing. I'm getting good connection of those muscles through the whole back of the leg, good placement of the feet, of the knee, and of the hip, and I'm preparing my client for when they're ready to load up. Thanks for joining me. I'm Katie Crane from the Pilates Professional. Have a great day.